Hello everybody, I'm Jonathan Edwards and welcome to Cruising America's Waterways. This is the first of two programs that explore New England islands and historic Newport, Rhode Island, where I'll be doing a concert while you and crew member Nancy travel to Cuttyhunk, Martha's Vineyard, Nantucket, Newport, and Block Island. I'll get to spend some time with you in Newport between performances, and you'll get to see my new boat being built on Martha's Vineyard. The cruise begins in Warren, Rhode Island on a cruise ship that carries just 84 passengers. Nancy, have yourself a good time for me, and we'll see you in Newport.
Thanks, John. We'll see you in a couple of days. And right now, it's time for us to board ship.
The small ship we'll be traveling on is the Niagara Prince, built in Warren, Rhode Island at the Blount Shipyard. The company's innovative founder started building boats here as a child.
It's fun. This is how I stay young. You know, there's not many people 83 years old doing this. And it keeps me limber, it keeps my head, plus I have to take brain pills and everything.
The ships built here are continuously refined to facilitate comfortable travel in areas inaccessible to larger craft.
And I went through the Erie Canal, and I was so enthusiastic about the Erie Canal that I wanted other people to see it. So every time I delivered a boat up in the Great Lakes, I had no trouble getting as many crew for nothing. They even paid their way back.
Today, the company not only builds boats, it operates a cruise line offering over 25 itineraries.
But it took 20 years before I found the right combination.
And what's the right combination?
Well, the right combination for me was an overnight cruise boat where I could go on to all the places that I had gone and delivering boats to people.
This is an intimate travel experience where passengers and crew share the adventure.
Well, it would be like going on your friend's yacht. This is more like what it is rather than a cruise ship.
We're on board the Niagara Prince and we are now departing Warren, Rhode Island. Let me tell you a little bit about the ship that we're on. It's a little bit different than the routine cruise ship you normally think of. For one thing, it's a little smaller. It's only 175 feet in length, about 40 feet in the beam or across, and it has a draft of about 6 feet. And that's pretty shallow. That means you can go into some very shallow waters. The boat holds about 85 people as passengers, and right now we are on our way to Cuttyhunk.
Small ships travel in protected waters, rivers, canals, bays, and sounds, and are more sensitive to weather conditions than luxury liners. The cruise from Warren to Cuttyhunk is 37 miles and takes about 4 hours. Cuttyhunk is the most westerly island in a chain of 13, known as the Elizabeth Islands, stretching westward from the elbow of Cape Cod. Cuttyhunk is about 2 miles long and a mile wide. With only a quarter mile of paved roads, golf carts and ATVs are popular with the islanders, who number fewer than 100. Only about 1/3 of the island is settled. The rest is rolling hills of bayberry, honeysuckle, and wild roses, with deer paths for hiking. Although the island is privately owned, visitors are welcome to dock their boats in the harbor and enjoy the beautiful beaches. There are 2 small general stores and a couple of restaurants, but the island is non-commercial. A visit to Cuttyhunk is a chance to see what New England islands were like before they became popular vacation destinations. Each night, our ship ties up in port. All of our traveling is done during the day, so you get a good night's rest and never miss the scenery. While large cruise ships are like floating hotels, here you know you're on a boat, with the water, breezes, and sights close at hand. We cruise at about 11 miles per hour. The ship is totally self-contained, producing its own water and electricity. Our next port is Martha's Vineyard, about 3 hours away. It's easy to relax here on the large upper deck. The cabins are comfortable and compact, with individually controlled air conditioning. The bathroom includes a sink, shower, and commode. Large windows provide light and a wonderful view.
This is basically our home. and we welcome you in our home, and we hope that you have a good time, that you'll want to come back.
On our cruise, as with many cruises, we're served excellent meals. 3 times a day, breakfast is at 8 o'clock, lunch at noon, and dinner at 6 o'clock, and everything is prepared right here on board, including all the baking being done right here on board in a relatively small kitchen, which is open for view. You can actually watch and see what they're doing. Our chef's name is Cook.
Joys of cooking.
Not only did we get to eat lobster, we passed by working lobstermen. It seems that lobster traps are everywhere along our route. If you like lobster, they're diamonds of the sea, and if you don't, well, they're bugs. The dining room also serves as the lounge. Most of the fun comes from visiting and making new friends. For entertainment, there are games, large screen television, and some live music. Of course, the real entertainment is the view from the deck. On our way to Martha's Vineyard, we passed by Woods Hole. Marine laboratories here study the world beneath the sea, searching for better ways to manage our marine resources. The famed Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution has 1,000 staff and students conducting over 350 projects. The ocean has a life of its own. It was warm and windy as we made our way over rough seas. The captain altered our course based on NOAA weather forecasts to provide the most comfortable ride possible. Natural harbors have always been a welcome sight for mariners. Now I know why.
Behind me is the town of Vineyard Haven. Vineyard Haven is one of 6 principal towns on the island of Martha's Vineyard. And Martha's Vineyard is the tourist attraction for the offshore Massachusetts islands. It's about 7 miles off the coast of Massachusetts, and it's an island of about 100 square miles. It's such a popular tourist attraction, just to give you an idea of what happens. The population here year-round is about 14,000 people. In the summer, the population swells to over 100,000.
There are few places in America where large sailing vessels are being built. The knowledge needed is passed from skilled worker to apprentice as each unique vessel takes shape. Here at the Gannon and Benjamin Marine Railway, boats are being designed and built with painstaking care and no computers, by people who love craftsmanship and can endure the hard work.
You're having a boat built.
Yeah. Yes, I commissioned a boat to be built for us in Martha's Vineyard, Massachusetts. It's a 32-foot lobster boat with a sailing rig as well. It's a power boat, but it's also going to have the capability to be sailed in case the engine goes away for some reason.
Navigate the way. Sailboat, 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 sailboat. Sailboat, 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 sail. Keep on sailing on.
I wanted it to be built of wood. I think wood is a great material to be inside of. Just the traditional New England lines of the working boats that have been plying these coastal waters for centuries. We started in January, and we hope to be launching in the beginning of August. It is such a work of art. It's just such a treat, such a pleasure to behold the way these pieces of wood are joined together to keep the water out.
What are you going to do with it once it's in your hands?
Well, we're going to sail around New England for a while, the rest of the summer, and then we're going to head south in the autumn and take it down to St. Croix, where we live, and then sail to the Caribbean whenever we get a chance to explore some of the other islands. That's really what I want to do, a lifelong dream. My boat is called the Eliza Lee, which is after my two daughters, Eliza and Brenda Lee.
Sailboat graceful as a musical note, there on sea blue green. Take us down to Newport Harbor, places we have never seen. Sailboat, 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 sail. Sailboat, 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 sail. Keep on sailing on. Sailboat, sailboat, take me for a sail in you. Sailboat, sailboat, you smooth over the water. The wind must be your father. You must be the ocean's daughter. Sailing, sailboat, sailboat, sailing to my, sailing to my, sailing to my harbor.
Now we got to convince Jonathan to take us for a ride when it's done.
Also located on Vineyard Haven's waterfront is the Black Dog Tavern.
I'm in the Black Dog Tavern, and even though it's called a tavern, this place is strictly BYOB because Vineyard Haven is a dry town. The Black Dog was opened in 1971 by Captain Douglas, who named it for his black dog. And since then, it has become world famous as the best place to go when you're in Martha's Vineyard.
The Black Dog is more than a tavern. It has grown to include 2 bakeries and 3 general stores. The Black Dog t-shirt, the world's second most popular, is proof of the Black Dog's success. Of course, I had to pick one up for Captain Mark.
So, do you watch a lot of TV? And what do you like to watch? What? Oh, Cruising America's Waterways. Well, since Captain Mark couldn't be with us on this trip, I figured I'd better handle the shopping for him. So I came to this store. This is Midnight Farm, and it's Carly Simon's store here in Vineyard Haven.
The streets of Vineyard Haven have been a center for commerce since the early 1800s.
It was 1602, and a man named Bartholomew Gosnold was sailing in these waters, and he found Martha's Vineyard along with some of the other islands. And since he had a daughter named Martha, and there were wild grapes growing all over the island, he called it Martha's Vineyard.
Okay, watch closely. As the camera pulled out after my shot, who walks into the frame but Carly Simon? Of course, being the pros that we are, we took this surprise in stride.
Yeah, she knows us. She knows who I am, Carly Simon. She said, that's the girl who does Cruising America's Waterways. Now, obviously, being an island, Martha's Vineyard has got tons of opportunity for recreation. Fishing, swimming, boating, snorkeling, watching birds. And behind many of the beaches, you'll find saltwater ponds and lagoons, which are also terrific to explore. You always have to go home with 1,000 shells. And what you do with them, I'm not sure. But you have to go home with 1,000 shells. Now, the salt ponds are a great place to bring children to swim and play. They're also a terrific place to go clamming. Now, what people do when they go clamming is they drag a big rake along the bottom, pull it up, and see if they found any clams. If they do, they toss them in a basket that floats along behind them. This particular stretch of beach is between Oak Bluffs and Edgartown, and it's where the movie Jaws was filmed. Well, I'm standing way up high at the Martha's Vineyard Historical Society in Edgartown, and I'm standing in front of a Fresnel lens. This lens was on a lighthouse, which was on Gay Head, the westernmost point of the island. The lighthouse is still there. The lens has been replaced. It was put there in 1856, brought over from France, and it remained in service until 1952. What's interesting about it is it was never electrified. They used whale oil first and then later kerosene. It's what's called a fifth order lens. That means it is the largest one, and it can be seen for a range of about 20 miles.
In 1642, the first colonial settlement on Martha's Vineyard was established at Great Harbor, now Edgartown, under the leadership of Thomas Mayhew, Jr. An ordained minister, he ruled that no land be taken from the island's Wampanoag people without consent and fair payment. The natives, in turn, taught the settlers how to capture whales and tow them ashore to boil out the oil. The success of the whaling industry brought prosperity to the community. The whalers built churches and homes like they built ships, strong with clean and dignified lines. Today, these buildings help make Edgartown a well-preserved seaport village of the 1800s.
This is the Vincent House. It was built on the vineyard in 1672, and it's the oldest structure in the vineyard that you can actually still go into. Inside, you'll find rooms furnished in the 17th, 18th, and 19th century styles.
The nearby town of Oak Bluffs was once known as the Cottage City of America. Dominating the community is the 1879 Tabernacle, which seats more than 3,000. Constructed of wrought iron, it replaced a one-ton tent that earlier housed annual Martha's Vineyard camp meetings.
This lovely community began as a Methodist campground in 1835. Originally, what were here were tents, and when the buildings were built, the double doors on the front reflected those tent flaps. It's still a religious community today, although anybody is welcome to come and stay here as long as they respect the quiet and privacy of their neighbors.
Oak Bluffs has a beautiful harbor that serves as the departure point for tour boats. Mopeds are handy for exploring island towns and beaches.
The Flying Horses Carousel was moved to Martha's Vineyard from New Jersey in 1884. Like most carousels, if you catch a brass ring, you get a free ride.
A little dizzy from the carousel, it was time to board ship. A large ferry had docked nearby. Ferries are the lifeline of the New England islands, transporting goods and people year-round. They offer frequent service during the summer for tourists burdened with everything from baby strollers to bicycles. We were ready to cast off. This is a busy harbor with both recreational and commercial vessels. Our next port is Nantucket, about 32 miles away. The people climbing the rigging on this sailing ship seemed too brave for me.
You know how bikers are so friendly? They don't know each other and they're like, hey buddy, you know, whatever. Like on the sea, it's so funny. It's like they don't know you from a hole in the wall and they're waving, and it's just the way it is on the water.
The crew is always busy. Chef Cook was preparing for a picnic lunch to be served on board, and the captain and first mate were at work on the bridge.
We go on the ship, we're family. And we go off the ship to relax for our social time, we go with our family. You can't get away from it, but the one thing that I found is that when there's a problem, you tell them to their face. Just like a brother or sister, you know, it's the same thing. Captain's our dad, and boy, if he's got a problem, he'll let you know it.
The captain and crew share the main dining room in an informality that bonds passengers and crew. We, like all passengers, got to visit with the captain.
I remember going home and telling my mother I was going to take this job, and she said, "It's a crazy life." And I said, "Ma, you don't understand. This is different." Well, it's 30 years later, and Mom was right. It's a crazy life. Yeah, it really is.
But you must like it.
It's not a job. It's not a job. And it's got to be that way to spend months away from home. I still look forward to getting up in the morning and seeing what I'm going to do that day. Yeah. The day it becomes a job, that's time to go on shore.
Now, watching you as we're talking, and your eyes are going all over the place. You're looking at a lot of different things
Yes,
here.
I am.
What are you watching?
I'm watching my heading. I'm watching my radar. I'm also checking depths. All of Nantucket Shoal is exactly what it means. Shoal waters. You can go from 60 feet of water to 2 feet of water, and a lot of it's not even marked. I'm also keeping an eye on the boat traffic, especially with this 4th of July weekend. I'm also looking at my radar. I'm coming up on what I've programmed in what's known as a waypoint with my GPS, satellite navigation system. And in about 7 minutes, I've got to make a turn that's going to take us on down to the Nantucket Breakwater. Then in the background, you're also listening to a couple of different radios. So yeah, there's a bunch to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
He keeps the ships small on purpose. He also keeps them very informal, as you've seen down below. You don't have to dress for dinner. You don't have to go up and down elevators through 6 decks of cabins to find yours. You know, if you want glitz and nightlife and casino shows, no, we're not. But if you want, you know, to see and enjoy and understand the places you're traveling to, and get to know people and meet them and see them again and again, then yeah, it's perfect.
You know, most of my performing is done right here in the New England area, and I think you can see why I like to spend my time here. Now, Nancy's shipboard adventure will continue in the next Cruising America's Waterways, so thanks for traveling with us, and we'll see you next time.